Okay. In this one, I just want to I want to get rid of some of these other parts and just look at marginal cost. And so typically, our average cost we expect, so Q and cost, we expect our average cost to look like this, to be U-shaped, total cost. We expect it to have some kind of U-shape, just roughly. And the reason why is, well, at first we got average fixed cost falls, but then the average variable cost rises, right? So at first the average fixed cost is pulling this down, and average variable cost not rising very fast, but eventually average variable cost rises quickly as we run into the diminishing marginal product of labor. Okay, so then what about marginal cost? So that is the U-shaped total cost. Okay, and so marginal cost is also usually has a similar shape, but it's usually going to be like something like this, and then going up quickly. Okay, and so this part here is from the specialization gain, increase in marginal product of labor. So at first, this didn't happen in the numerical example I showed you, but it happened in the earlier one. So this is usually there, often there, that you add more workers, and they're even more productive than the ones before. And then, but then eventually, so they're more productive than the ones before, so they cost the same, but the additional production is even extra. So your marginal cost is falling, right? Because the cost is going up the same, but the quantity is going up faster. So it's going to make this thing become smaller. But then this part is the rising marginal cost is from the diminishing. So each worker is producing less and less. So you add a worker and they produce 20 more, and then you add another worker and they produce 10 more, and you add another worker and they produce 5 more. So those last ones are getting really expensive because you had to pay a worker their whole salary, but they only produce 5. It's not that they weren't working hard, it's just there wasn't enough capital available to them. Okay. The second thing we can notice, so that's one thing. And the second thing we wanted to notice is here, this point here, which I label in yellow, that they cross. So I want to explain to you that the marginal cost equals to the average total cost at min of average total cost. It's also true with the average variable cost, actually, but I'm just going to focus on the average total cost right here at the minimum. So actually, when it's U-shaped, this bottom point, the two are going to be equal. And so here's the idea, and I'll give you kind of so when the next, so average is like, I'll give you a story. A story can be kind of like your grade. So let's suppose you take a whole bunch of tests. Okay, so let's suppose this class had a quiz every week that actually counted fully. Okay, so and your quiz average is 80. Okay, so that's your average. That's kind of like analogy of this average total cost. And then the marginal, what's the marginal? Well, the marginal is the next one. Okay, what happens to your next quiz? So like if your quiz score right now was 80, and then your next one is 75, well, what happened to your average? What's going to go down? Sure. And then let's suppose your next one is great, you get 100. What happens to your average? Well, your average goes up. Okay. And then what happens if your next one is 80? What happened to your average? Nothing. The average just stays the same. So the marginal is the next one, and the marginal affects the average, right? So even though they're just two curves drawn here, it affects the average. So we can also then say that, well, if our marginal cost is above average total cost, right, then that means our marginal unit is more expensive, so our average is rising. So our average is rising. All right, we know that this will be the case, and then if our marginal cost is less than average total cost, right? So our marginal cost is like these ones down here that I've circled in yellow, for example, in any of this area down here that I'm highlighting in yellow, then this is going to mean your marginal unit, the next one is cheaper than your average. So your average is like $10, and this one costs you $5. So then your average is going to fall. Okay, so the average cost is falling. It's important to at least have a basic understanding of this because we're going to be using this over and over, and you're going to see the curves always looking like this, and it's useful to have some idea about why they look like this, okay? Because we're going to be using this in the next few weeks over and over and over and over, okay? So hopefully that's clear. I'll write up a little bit more. I also strongly suggest you take a look at the textbook as well.